This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of Looking Ahead 2023. I'm Wang Guan in Beijing. We start each year with a lot of hope and anticipation, but the year 2023 arguably is different. The level of anticipation is just extraordinary. With the shadow of COVID finally retreating after 3 years and China rolling back its pandemic control policies, there's a surge in optimism and hope and plans to reconnect. As international exchanges and people-to-people contacts improve, I'm going to talk to 3 people who are contributing to this communication in 3 diverse fields. Now, looking at the year 2023, how will China's international dialogue and cooperation go forward? My first guest today, in fact, my first guest of the year, is David Ferguson, Honorary Chief English Editor of Foreign Languages Press. David, welcome to the Hub. Now, David, as the Honorary Chief English Editor of a major Chinese publishing house, you have a major role to play in presenting China to the outside world, but we did not know that you brought the outside world to China as well, and that too in the form of Manchester United, no less. You must tell us more about that. Are you related or affiliated with Sir Alex Ferguson by any chance?
Well, that's an old story, Wang Guan. It's a good story. In the early 2000s, before I came to China, I used to work, I used to own a media production company with one of my brothers. He was an old experienced television producer. And through his contacts, we knew the guys who ran Manchester United TV. So when they needed a documentary made, occasionally they would commission us to do it. So I've actually had the opportunity to interview a number of interesting people, one of them being Sir Alex. I mean, you get to interview David Ferguson. I got to interview David Beckham. So yeah,
awesome.
So that's going back a while. And one of the first times I came to China, I actually came to China with Manchester United as part of a business delegation that was accompanying the club. They came in 2005 and they played a match in Hong Kong and they played a match here in Beijing.
Yeah, I remember that,
against Beijing Guan. So I was actually with the delegation then. So I got some nice pictures of my son, who was then 1 year old, with guys like Wayne Rooney and Alan Smith, Ryan Giggs.
Was Ronaldo in that squad too?
No, actually.
Which year was that?
That was in 2005, but I was actually at the Man U training ground the day that Ronaldo signed for Man U as a teenager. That was in 2003.
At 18 years old, yes.
I actually got the very first autograph that Ronaldo signed as a Man U player. I was there and I saw him going into the offices to sign on the dotted line. When he came back out, the only piece of paper I had with me was a business card. So I gave him my business card and said, "Can you sign an autograph, please?"
Well, awesome.
So I got his first autograph.
A tribute to that young boy, now that we learned that he has just signed with Al Nassr, the Saudi Arabia team.
Yeah, that's right, for something like 180
with an unbelievably high salary and bonus.
Yeah.
But let's talk about China's engagement with the outside world. Now that China has relaxed its COVID policies, no quarantine whatsoever for inbound travelers, international travel is about to rise. It is rising already as we speak. How do you foresee that to facilitate China's outreach to the outside world and vice versa too?
I hope that it's going to work in a positive way. Unfortunately, we're all already hearing talk about some of the Western countries placing restrictions on Chinese travelers. I think one of the unfortunate things all the way through the whole COVID pandemic has been the way that some Western countries have politicized it right from the start. Donald Trump was talking about the China virus, and he wasn't the only one. So I think that China's making positive moves. I think that China's management of COVID has been wise and sensible. They put people's lives first up front. I think now that the virus appears to be mutating and becoming less serious, and I think it's maybe right to start taking the brakes off. Yeah. I'm hesitant to comment too much about it because I'm not a medical expert. But I think there comes a point where you have to be ready to start to ease
for sure.
restrictions. I think China's doing that. I think it's the right thing to do. I just hope that that Western countries, my own country, for example, the United Kingdom, can respond in a positive way and not treat this as yet another opportunity to create conflict and hostility.
Now, in your circle of publishing, academic, and think tank members, what is the response to the changes in China's COVID policy? Did you talk to your friends, your colleagues? What are your own thoughts on all this?
Well, pretty much every adult I know has now had COVID. Nobody that I know has actually been hospitalized, which bears out what I was saying earlier, and bears out what I would hope is that the virus is becoming less serious. So we've all had COVID, we've all been through it. It's very unpleasant, but we've all got through it. As I say, nobody's been hospitalized. We're steadily going back to work. I actually had quite a tough time myself over 10 days over Christmas, but I'm past the worst of it now and on the mend, and looking to get back to work fairly quickly.
Yeah, sorry about that. Now you look great. You look well.
Thank you very much, and I feel a lot better.
David, you said in 2023 that you will continue your work on China's international discourse, which is a very important issue. What kind of international discourse do you foresee going forward between China and its presentation to the outside world?
Well, Wang, you're quite right. That is my main task, working on China's international discourse, principally China's political discourse. 2022 was a big year with two major events. We had the release of the Governors of China, Volume 4, and then we had the Party Congress. So these were two big events that generated a lot of work. To be honest, for 2023, I would be hoping for a slightly easier year this time round. I mean, we'll have a lot of white papers, a lot of, China likes to publish white papers, likes to let the world know what its position is in terms of major political issues, major social and environmental issues. So we're anticipating a fair amount of that, but maybe slightly easier this year.
As people try to move past COVID, what kind of international discourse do you foresee coming from China and on China?
Well, first of all, we've had, or we're about to have a change in foreign minister. I think.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think one of the great strengths of China's system is something that I call continuity. You look at the Western political systems and you've got constant change. It's all based on conflict and confrontation and changeover and turnover. And I see one of the great strengths of China's system as the fact that people plan ahead and then they implement the plans and they pilot them. And then once things work, they actually start to roll them out. So if you look at what President Xi said at the Party Congress, he said the main task going forward for the CPC will be the second centenary goal. Now, that is looking forward from here to 2049. So I think that's the great strength of China's system, is the continuity, the ability to plan ahead, and the ability to implement. China's diplomatic strategy, it's based on the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. That is going to continue. What I hope that China can do is reach out to partners beyond the developing world, beyond the global south, where they already have solid friendships, and find a way to rebuild relationships with the developed world, and principally with the two people who have adopted the most adversarial approach, which is the US and my own country, the UK.
Finally, David, what do you hope to see happen the most in the year 2023?
For myself, well, I've got some plans for myself, Guan. Outside of my activities with the Foreign Languages Press, I write books, teaching English books. I write books for kids. I don't know if you even know that. Yes.
For kids, I can be advised by you.
Okay, and I'll keep in touch and let you go. But I've got a number of irons in the fire for 2023, and I hope to be making my own contribution to China's international discourse. And I think that maybe they need to spread that in more areas. One of them being soft power, for example. China's great at making movies. Movies talk direct to an audience. So I actually have a plan myself to be working on an idea for a film. So I've got lots of stuff in prospect, looking forward to the new year and hoping that it's going to be a success for you, for everyone.
Best of luck for your future endeavors and Happy New Year, David
Thank
Ferguson.
you very much.
Thank
and
you.
Same to you, as we say in Scotland, a good new year to Ada Law.
While we're talking about breaking the ice, my next guest has done it already. Emmanuel Daniel is the founder of the Asian Banker. He shares his New Year plans as he just returned from the Antarctica.
Hello everybody, greetings from the Antarctic. It's great to be here. You can see the penguins all around us at the moment, and you can also see the boat on which we came on and how small it looks relative to everything else here. The mountains behind me are huge, but you may not be able to appreciate how large and how dramatic they are.
Emmanuel, people are talking about the new year. They're talking about the new year, a new journey, a new beginning. They have set so much hope on this year, the year 2023. You actually have taken it literally. You have begun a new journey. You have returned from the Arctic. Tell us about your adventure. What was it like?
Wang, Guan, I'm actually talking to you from a town called Ushuaia, the southernmost town in Argentina. I just today got back from the Antarctic. I deliberately made a trip to below the Antarctic Circle down to the Antarctic mainland, which not too many ships get to do that. And I'm very happy to say that on my trip, there were about 100 of us, and there were about 8 people from China. And I was very happy to see people I recognized. I was able to practice my Chinese. Of course, the Antarctic is the final frontier of humanity. It is a region that is not technically owned by any country, but every country that participates wants to make sure that they preserve what they share together in the world today. And I guess the theme there for the next year, 2023, is sustainability, preservation, and cooperation. And I think that's what the Antarctic is all about.
You know, I've come close to the Arctic in the north, but not even, not quite close, not as close as you have been to the Antarctic. What was it like? I mean, what were some of the awe-inspiring moments? There must have been many.
Well, firstly, I took many pictures, but not a single picture will capture what you actually see in the Antarctic. If you've been
what
to
you actually feel inside.
Yes, what you feel inside, it's a feeling that will grow in me for many years to come. You know, if you go to New Zealand and then you go to the Antarctic, you might say, oh, this part of the Antarctic looks like New Zealand. If you go to Xinjiang province and or the Tibetan mountains, you'll say, oh, something about it reminds you of Tibet. But Antarctic is like 100 times larger than any of these picturesque places around the world that we are familiar with. So the first thing I think I learned how not to do is not to compare the Antarctic to anything we've seen before. And then to come to terms with the fact that there is this huge part of the world that is worth preserving and worth protecting for all of mankind, not just for any one country or people or region. And it's very good to see. And I learned a lot about the cooperations that are made by the Antarctic Council and so on, where all the different major countries of the world, including China, cooperate to preserve the Antarctic. You know, now if you ask me what is it that that I'll remember for a long time, well, I will remember that I slept in the open one of the nights and looked at the sky. And I can say that I've slept in the Antarctic, and that was super memorable. I didn't do the polar dip because I was exhausted the next day, but I wish I'd done that. But everything else, I mean, learning to respect the penguin highway was something, to see penguins all around you, but to respect that you need to keep a distance from the penguins and respect their lifestyle and not block their passage to the sea. So these are some of the things that I had to learn about what sustainability and protecting the environment is all about.
Now, I want to shift gears a little bit and ask you about the Asian banker that you have started. Maybe you can tell us a bit about what does it do, and then especially in light of China's COVID relaxation policies, optimization policies, in light of China's reopening its borders. How do you see it being associated with China, and how are you planning to help your customers realign their China strategy in the new circumstances?
So, as many in the audience might be familiar with, I'm the founder of the Asian Banker. I founded it in 1996. By the year 2000, I met the chairman of one of the big four banks of China, who came to Singapore, which is where the Asian Banker started, and said to me, come to Beijing. It's a good time to come to Beijing. At that time, I wasn't aware that China was just about to sign the WTO agreement. So we were in China since the year 2000. And for me personally and professionally, being in China just at that time and to this day has been an incredible journey, a front seat view of how a country could economically and also on the trade front progress so dramatically like no other country has. Because the Asian Banker's core business is research in banking and finance, we have to constantly make a judgment as to the sustainability, the integrity of the banking system in all of the countries that we cover. Many of our clients are from the US and Europe who want to understand some of the developments taking place in Asia. And because of our office in Beijing, we have an on-ground feel of how the Chinese banking system is responding to a lot of the changes taking place today. Of course, the US thinks of itself as being, the superior system. But I think China has proven since the year 2000 that I've been in China that it had built a banking system that is resilient. At the time that COVID started, the global economy, the mechanics of the global economy was totally different than what it is today. It was the cost of credit was a lot lower, and therefore the funding and the risk tolerance was much higher. Today, when China is coming back into the global banking system, we are entering a system which is much more cautious about risk profiles and so on.
Recently, we know that China has relaxed its COVID restrictions substantially, no quarantine requirement for inbound travelers, opening up its borders literally again. It was open, but now it's just made more easier for foreign travelers, expats, to come over here to do business. I just want to get your reaction and maybe the reaction of your friends in your community about this relaxation of travel policies.
First out, just the ending of quarantine requirements has, in my view, and from the people I speak to, created an incredible demand for travel back into China. And I see some of this demand from people who have had historical relationships with China, who need to get back in, and fund managers, for example, who need to get back in and engage with people on the ground. But also, I see a new interest in people in the US, and I speak specifically of people I'm familiar with, who are planning to do study tours in June, July, August. So there is both a re-engagement with the traditional community, and fledgling new interest in China. The desire to start on a clean slate in terms of understanding what the issues are today.
Yeah, everyone's hoping that the new year will be a year of peace and prosperity, of amity. But you made slightly a different forecast somehow. You said there will be a financial war. I mean, when, why, and how?
Well, the US is going through an inflection point. The Federal Reserve Bank, is inconclusive in its model in dealing with inflation and even interpreting inflation at the moment. And that has repercussions on cost of funds and on the capital market in the US. Every other country in the world, including China, have to recalibrate their own strategy because of this development. Now, many countries would like to see a softening of interest rates and that they don't have to protect their own currencies by raising domestic interest rates in China, in a number of large countries and so on. How the US responds to the global scenario will decide whether they will be adversarial or not. So that's, I think, where we need to put our finger on. I think that the Chinese regulators have been fair and level-headed in responding to the interest rate rise in the US. At the same time, there's a lot to protect in China. So, the Chinese regulators will have to be forceful in the way in which it protects the Chinese economy.
All right, Emmanuel Daniel, founder of the Asian Banker, thank you so much for coming on our program, and come back to China soon.
Now, a New Year show should always end on a high note, and that's exactly what we're going to do. My last guest today is Ellie Zilo, the versatile South African singer based in Hong Kong, China, who sings in 4 languages. Wow. Welcome to the Hub, Ellie.
Thank you so much for having me.
We know that music is always loved by everybody because it knows no borders, it knows no barriers to some extent, and you're an example of that. How did you become a pop singer in Hong Kong from South Africa?
Well, I originally came in 2015 by way of Hong Kong Disneyland. I auditioned for the role of Nala in South Africa, and then about 3 months later, I found myself here. Luckily, I got the role, and that's just how my journey began.
Awesome, awesome. How do you like the city?
I love it. Actually, I came back on my own accord because after my time with Disney was up, I went back to South Africa for a few months. And then I decided by myself that, you know what, I want to go back to Hong Kong. I enjoyed it so much. And so I'm back, and I have been back for about 5 years now since then.
So I understand that you can sing in Cantonese and Mandarin, both. Maybe you can show it to our audience a little bit.
Okay. Let me see.
Wow.
Maybe I should stop there before I get carried away.
Beautiful. And it's a beautiful tribute to late singer Mei Yanfeng as well. It's a beautiful, gorgeous song. I mean, what is it like being a singer in Hong Kong? How do you feel like you're received by locals, by, of course, Hong Kong being a very different culture, heading from the East that is, I would say, very different from your homegrown culture?
You know what the thing is, when you give your heart to something, I think people can tell, and people are most likely to give their heart or their attention back to you. So that's what I've experienced with the Hong Kong audience. They can see that my intentions are good, and I just enjoy languages. I always have since I was younger. It started by maybe trying different songs that I didn't particularly understand. And as I grew older, I just mixed my love of languages with music, and I'm happy.
Let me ask you, Ellie, which is more difficult, Mandarin Chinese, 普通话, or Cantonese?
Cantonese, without a doubt.
How so?
Because with Cantonese, I found a lot of words are put in one sentence when singing a song. With Mandarin, it reminds me a little bit more of the ballad background that I come from, because I'm very heavy on R&B. So with Mandarin, you can space out your words, you can add your nuances stylistically. Whereas with Cantonese, I feel that you have to hit the marks a little more solidly.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then, of course, the Chinese mainland just relaxed its COVID policies, no quarantine whatsoever for inbound travelers. There's, of course, free commute between the Chinese mainland and its Hong Kong SAR. How do you feel about that? Any plans for the future to come up to the mainland?
Well, I feel excited because I have performed in the mainland before, in Shanghai and Beijing. And I really, really want to go back. I'm hoping that I could meet more artists. Of course, the audience is much larger and wider in the mainland. So it would be really just a highlight of 2023 if I could come over.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, how have you been telling what Hong Kong is like, what China is like to your friends in South Africa or, other parts of the world?
With my friends, I'll just speak from their experience. There's a lot of curiosity. I think, of course, we are living in a world where information, luckily, is just by our fingertips. So when I said I was coming to Hong Kong, everybody was just, trying to see what it's about. But now that I'm here, actually, they are living vicariously through me. And I see a lot of people on my social media even saying, oh my, I need to plan a trip to Hong Kong. It looks so fun. It looks so great, So people are definitely open to it in a very positive way. They want to see what I'm eating, where I'm performing, just fun things. Like, show us the streets of Hong Kong. We want to see, There's a lot of positive feedback, I find.
Yeah, great. I heard that you're releasing a new album this year. Is that right?
Yes.
What's it about?
2023, I'm releasing a double album, actually.
Wow.
One in English and South African languages, which would be Zulu and Setswana. And then I am releasing an EP in Cantonese and Mandarin. And it's about so much that I've experienced over the past 2 years. I really feel that it's the right time, because for a long time I hadn't released albums and people would always ask me, when are you releasing? But I always felt like I didn't have anything to say. Right now, I feel like I have a lot to say and I want to be open and honest and vulnerable, which I think is the tool and the essence of music. So I'm ready to jump in.
If you don't mind me asking, what aspect of your life or what aspect of Hong Kong, China, give you the biggest part of your inspiration to write and to compose and to sing regarding your new album?
There was actually a point in time, I can actually give you a specific example. I was walking by the harbor in TST here in Hong Kong, and I was looking around me, and the experience of how I felt that night kickstarted my desire to want to record an album. I looked around and I was examining how I felt, how I looked at the environment, how friends were hanging out together in the midnight hour, lovers, everything. So that kind of drew a passion in me where I was like, okay, I'm going to take more walks and see what's around me and relate that to how I'm feeling inside. And that's just the inspiration of the album, just different days, different feelings, different emotions.
Great. And finally, what's your New Year resolution?
I want to be kinder. I want to work harder. I want to dance more. And I want to show the people around me that I love them. And hopefully I can tour the world doing what I love. Ali
Zylo, South African singer. Thank you so much for being on our show. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for this special edition of Looking Ahead 2023. On behalf of my whole team, we're wishing you a great year of the 2023. We're wishing you nothing but the best for you and your loved ones. Thank you so much for watching our program, and bye for now.